Hi everybody, Matt Bernier, Dan Illman, taking a look back at the Grade 1 hopeful from up at the Spa on closing weekend, Labor Day weekend. 2-year-olds, it's the featured event as always. 2-year-olds going 7/8 of a mile. This was an interesting race coming in. You had a couple of Pletchers in this spot. You had a Dwayne Lucas horse, and we know it was just a few years ago that Lucas won this race with a nice little 2-year-old. They break from the gate. Lucas is going to try and do it again. Boy, there's a hairy moment as they come down the stretch.
This last furlong is ugly, and they're 2-year-olds and they're babies and they're still learning, but it also makes you wonder about the quality of this race. National Flag is showing some nice speed in here. I was wondering, where's the speed from the 1 Mojovation? Where's the speed from the 2 Oscar Blues? Non-existent.
Non-existent. Meanwhile, the horse that's taken up the ideal position really is the number 6 Sporting Chance. That is the Dwayne Lucas runner on Dwayne's weekend, birthday weekend, I should say. He's taken up a beautiful position, and if you had questions about National Flag coming into it, you really couldn't draw this up any better.
This is just a beautiful trip for Sporting Chance right now, sitting on the outside. You get a look at him. He's just a big, good-looking 2-year-old. He's by Tiz now. He's not supposed to be an early 2-year-old winning sprinting. It always seems like he has National Flag, but the stretch gets a bit scary.
On the far outside, you're going to see the 8-horse Free Drop Billy start rolling along. You're also going to see just in behind the number 7, Give Me a Minute. They're going to be coming from off the pace in here, and I wonder if that hurts their chances because this pace, all things considered, isn't that fast.
I was really impressed with the 7, Give Me a Minute, who's still a maiden for trainer Dallas Stewart. You see he's sort of in behind horses here. He's going to run okay, but let's take a look at Sporting Chance. It looks like he's on his way. Free Drop Billy had to take the long way around, but Louis Saez is saying, all I have to do is stay on and I'm going to get the money, and he almost doesn't stay on.
No.
Ouch. Oh boy.
And it's a miracle that the horse still gets his nose down. That left-handed urging, last thing you want to see is ducking out as badly as he did, but he still gets there, he survives the inquiry and the objection. Sporting Chance gets the job done, 1340 on the win, and Free Drop Billy 420 to place. Give Me a Minute, 370 on the show, and if you played the Superfecta for 10 cents, $90.40. Sporting Chance, another 2-year-old winner of the hopeful for Dwayne Lucas. I believe this is his record 8th victory in this race, 8 times on Dwayne's birthday weekend. This horse, you made mention the pedigree. He's not supposed to be an early type. He really hasn't done anything wrong, though. 2 wins from 3 lifetime starts, never been out of the exacta for Luis Saez. I think this horse is interesting going forward.
He'll stretch out. He's got good tactical speed. He'll sit off another horse nicely. You just hope that this was a one-off from an antic standpoint, drifting out like that in the stretch. It'll be very interesting to see where Lucas wants to put this horse next. You do have the Champagne around 1 turn at Belmont. You always got the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland as well. That's where you get that important 2-turn prep before the Breeders' Cup.
Especially leading into it. And I wonder, I'm curious what you have to think. Considering he started 3 times, he drifted out when he was hit left-handed. Is it him just being kind of dopey and trying to figure things out, or is there something else to it?
I think he's a baby. I think he probably made the front and maybe lost a little bit of focus. He had a big crowd hollering at him on closing day at Saratoga on Labor Day, and he probably didn't appreciate getting tattooed left-handed. It's possible it has never happened to him before. This was a good, solid effort, but when you see a result like this, and the winner did everything he could to lose in the last 70 yards, and you've got a maiden, a Louisiana-bred maiden, running 3rd in the race, I think you have to ask yourself, and all the notable no-shows that showed up in this race that we'll get to, we have to ask really, where's the quality?
Well, I suppose I agree with you there, but at the same time, if I'm playing devil's advocate, can I say that the chalks, considering most of them were maiden winners coming into it, and the horses that had experience, they actually, with the exception of Give Me a Minute, they ran 1st, 2nd, and 4th. So did we as the public, was it the rare instance where the public got it wrong?
It's possible. I mean, this was a race where the public had no idea. And they landed on Free Drop Billy, who ran really well again. Free Drop Billy, doesn't he seem like the anti-2-year-old? He doesn't have much speed whatsoever.
He'll pass
He's going to
horses.
run hard late. He's going to pass horses. He does things, for the most part, professionally and well. There's just absolutely no sizzle or sex appeal to a horse like Free Drop Billy. He's okay, but again, he's not the most exciting 2-year-old in the world. You look at the horses coming out of the Del Mar Futurity in some of these races in Southern California, and they've got wow appeal. I don't see that with Free Drop Billy.
He reminds me of Brody's Cause.
Nothing wrong with that.
Where you know what, you're steady, you're consistent. I'm sure when we get to 2 turns, whether it's in the Futurity or it's in the race at Churchill Downs, he's going to run quite well and he'll probably appreciate the distance. He just doesn't ever blow you away. And like you say, when you get out to Southern California where the Breeders' Cup's going to be, aren't you just inherently up against it if you're coming from way out of it?
Certainly, although a lot of times in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, you're going to get a hot pace with these young 2-year-olds, several of them stretching out for the first time. It's a hot pace. Free Drop Billy's a really nice little horse. I think he does have to take some incremental steps forward to get it done against top horses, but maybe I'm being way too critical.
You talked about Give Me a Minute. it.
I like him.
This is a horse that probably needs a little bit more seasoning, considering he's still a maiden at this point. But he's done some good things, and heck, he got a decent enough figure here with an 85 to think that you would assume that Dallas Stewart's going to be saying, we got to get 2 turns into him now.
He'll stretch. I mean, he's by Star Guitars, one of the more underrated Louisiana breds we've ever seen. I mean, that was just a hardy racehorse. Give Me a Minute does act like he's going to stretch. He made his debut sprinting earlier in the Saratoga meet, and we had a feeling in that race that he was just going to drop back home with 1 run, gallop out well, come back safe and sound, and get something better next time. We didn't think it was going to be in the hopeful, but I think he passed the test here. He belongs with these kind of horses, maiden or no. I'm really interested to see what we get on the stretch out. We know Dallas Stewart likes to prep his Derby horses at the fairgrounds. I'm pretty sure that's what we'll see. Give Me a Minute.
Firenze Fire, I have to be honest, coming out of that opening weekend victory.
Sanford?
Yeah, Sanford, I wasn't blown away. The public clearly wasn't either. They didn't buy him. He was 8-1. And I just thought he was flailing around at the end. I think he's an okay horse. I don't think he's a true grade 1 type, and I don't know about distance, even though he is Frisian Fire.
I think he just probably caught the right field in the Sanford. Maybe not the best horses in there, and it was his day. They threw a little class at Firenze Fire, and he wasn't far from embarrassed. He was up close to the fence. He was down inside. Maybe he didn't like that, but I just needed to see a little bit more of a kick. National Flag, I needed him to stay a little bit better in here. It just seemed like he was willing to pack it in at the top of the stretch, and as you mentioned, the pace didn't seem very fast.
And let's talk about the 2 Pletchers in here. You had National Flag, you had Mojo-Vation. I think everyone thought Mojo-Vation would be the one to show the speed. For some reason, whatever it was, he was just sluggish. He didn't get into it.
That's the word.
And he never really threatened at any point. It's also worth noting, if you're a believer in the Timeform US color codings, when he broke his maiden, he did on the lead on a day when it was intensely speed friendly. So the minute he didn't get there, he was going to need to show you something different. Do you give up on both of them already?
I'm very disappointed with Mojo-Vation. I don't know how you could play him at a relatively short price, considering his connections next time out in a major stakes race. He just was sluggish, was the perfect word to describe it. As for National Flag, he's kind of been in and out already through 3 lifetime starts. Didn't he bomb in his career debut at a short price at Belmont? Then came back to win despite failing to change leads in his race at Saratoga. This horse has a lot to learn. He's got a nice pedigree. Maybe he just needs a little bit of break to grow into himself. Psychoanalyze was 26-1 in this race. And Psychoanalyst was chasing the pace. This horse has way more speed than he's shown in his last 2 races, and I think it's time to get him back with what worked early in his career. And I believe his career debut was on a chooch.
We talk about horses having to grow up. Sporting Chance, he won this race with an 86 Fire. He's still got to grow up a lot here for Dwayne Lucas, but it's nice to know that the coach has got another good runner, a good 2-year-old, and you would like to think with that pedigree, 2 turns will be no issue, and you would imagine at some point we're going on to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.